Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new series on Shouting into the Void. I'll just give a quick heads up now. Uh, Zoom stopped giving us free meetings, so if things now look different on our call, it's because we're using Skype instead of Zoom, because we can't pay for that. That's a lot of money.
Mhm.
It was a ridiculous amount of money to pay for Zoom. So never mind. If we kept these short to half an hour, we'd be fine. But
Yeah, like
unfortunately,
the good old
this took
days when we started this. It was like half an hour.
yeah, it's ridiculous. So the discussion videos will probably be on Zoom because they only tend to be 15 to 20, 30 minutes. So they'll be fine. But these ones might look a little bit different, mainly because I don't want you to have to suffer through our faces at full screen for for a good 45 minutes.
Yeah, no one
Um,
deserves that.
Yes, well, the disclaimer's out of the way. So now we'll get into the big topic. We're finally on to series 5 of Doctor Who. Boy,
Praise
boy, oh boy.
my
Oh,
boy.
it feels like it's been a long time coming. We've watched
Yes.
series 1 to 4. We've watched Chris Eccleston. We watched David Tennant, all their companions. All of Russell is gone. He's never coming back.
Never,
And
never
now we're
again.
and now we're on series 5.
16 months. 16 and a
Oh,
half months. And here we are.
ridiculous. Who would have thought that? Who'd have thought we'd have kept this up for this long? Hey,
Not me.
oh,
I thought
look
we'd
at
be done
us!
by
Look at
series
us! Eh?
2. Look at us.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's ridiculous that we're here, but we might as well talk about it. So the
Okay.
first episode in this era is the 11th hour. Do you get it? Because it's the 11th Doctor. Do you get it?
What?
Do you get it? Um,
It's definitely not a reference to a book or anything. Definitely not.
no, no. It's just not a very happy coincidence.
No.
Um, but yes, this is the first episode in which we properly see Matt Smith. Obviously, we saw him at the end of time where he generated, but this is obviously his first full outing. This is our introduction to Amy / Amelia Pond and Rory Williams, played by Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill, respectively. Um, and yeah, I mean, the Doctor's recently regenerated. He crash lands. There's an alien menace, and he's got to stop it. That pretty much sums it up, I
Pretty
guess.
much. Yeah.
Obviously, we always go into these with the assumption that you've seen the episode. We're not going to go play by play with everything that happens in the episode. Watch the episode, go and see it. It's good. It's on quite a lot of streaming services. It's on DVDs, probably
Yeah.
pretty cheap DVDs. So go ahead and watch it. And then once you've watched it, come back and we'll talk
Yeah.
about it.
This episode's 12 years old.
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's disgraceful. Well, as it is 12 years old, and we're getting old, what did you think of it?
Getting. I've been old since the day I was born. In the
Oh,
inside, I think.
not wrong. You're not wrong. But yes, it is so old. Maybe that will come into play with certain things in our negative section.
Oh, yours apparently.
Yeah, maybe. But overall, what did you think of the episode?
Oh, it's good. Oh, I did love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's widely regarded as one of the best first Doctor, post regeneration stories. I absolutely agree. I think it is the best one. From what I've seen, I haven't seen all the classic series ones, granted. But from the ones I have seen, this was, high and away the best. A huge weight on everyone's shoulders, I think, going into this. Brand new, literally everything. And for the first time in Doctor Who history as well, as I kind of found out some fun facts, which is quite bizarre, like in terms of production, everything, all of it's brand new for the first time ever. So to kind of come back with, an episode as strong as this, very impressive. But yeah, I bloody loved it. It's so great. 64 minutes for me flew by. And I know I am looking forward to getting to the shorter episodes again because we've had a lot of specials in a row.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
need free time. But yeah, I just adore it. I think I've probably mentioned once or twice, Matt Smith's my favorite Doctor. This is my favorite era of the show. So to kind of be tackling it after 16 and a half long months of waiting, that's obviously going to help with my excitement for it. But I just think it's brilliantly paced from start to finish. I think, some great performances in there. Obviously a very simple threat, but you kind of need to when it's a story like this and so much to introduce and everything. Sets up a few, mysteries for not only this series but a few future ones as well. And yeah, just jolly good time. And Olivia Colman, who can say no to Olivia Colman? In a huge role. But it is what it is. But yeah, I loved it. Even just seeing the Doctor like mess about with Amelia for like the first 10-15 minutes, just kind of establishing that dynamic, which is going to be a core thing for the show for the next 2.5 years. And then when the plot really gets going with like the aliens and everything, so good. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think it's safe to say that this definitely sets the tone for most of, at least Matt Smith as the Doctor wise, and definitely for Series 5 as a whole. You can tell that it's a completely new production team pretty much, because it's shot differently, it's a little bit different stylized, similar to when we jumped from this one to Jodie Whittaker's. It's a massive
you're like, oh wow, my eyes aren't as bad as I thought, because this looks really good.
Exactly, and obviously this is the first full series. I think it was probably in full HD, so that's also why it looks very good. But there are some really nice shots in this, and yeah, it is probably the best first episode for a series, let alone the first for a Doctor.
That's probably true as well.
And I think it's definitely a good jumping on point. You don't need to have watched anything beforehand to sort of get on board with this one, which I think also helps and is good for the show to sort of do that sort of soft reset every now and then, especially when there's a new Doctor coming in, new companions, so you don't have to worry about anything else. You can just jump straight in. And I think, this episode's great. I really enjoyed it. I didn't even realize it was 64 minutes. It just absolutely flew by. And yeah, I don't really have too many complaints. I think I struggled for a couple of them, and
I've had to nitpick.
Yes, at least one of mine is very nitpicky.
One of mine is exceptionally nitpicky because it's about the title sequence.
Amazing! Wow. Oh god, right. Well, we'll come on to that later on. We do on this, we do 3 positives and 3 negatives. Sometimes we go over, and basically we're fast and loose with the rules. It's our video. We can do whatever we want. So we'll start with the positives. What's your first one?
You're going to be blown away. You're going to be so incredibly surprised that my first positive is Matt Smith.
He's also mine.
Hooray! Yeah, I do try, and I did like Chris and David. Sometimes I shout them out in the positives. And I promise to try and keep that down with this era as well. Because yeah, but I think it's fair. He's your favorite and everything. And it's our video. We can do what we want.
Yeah, literally.
But it is a given anyway. But I think sometimes it's just worth shouting out. And it's his debut as the Doctor. Not the first one he filmed as the Doctor, but it's his first episode as for us. And he's good. He's so good. Right from the off, there's just that kind of magic. And I remember sitting down watching this, still kind of unsure. I'm like, I don't know, because David, where are you? But right from the off, and the second he like pops out the TARDIS and he's like clawing his way back out, I'm like, okay, yes, this is the Doctor. So I was fully on board very quickly, which is always a nice feeling to know. Oh yes, I am gonna like you, good. But yeah, huge shoes to fill with David Tennant leaving, especially on the performance David Tennant gives in his last episode as well. One of the most popular Doctors ever. So to have to replace that and to be the youngest actor ever to do it as well. He was 26 when he was cast. Like, it's just mental. That's like,
you're older than us.
That's like us playing the Doctor for the first time next year, which is I mean, A, not going to happen because we have shooting, and B, it would never happen anyway. But although 6-year-old Peter Capaldi also thought that, I guess, writing into Doctor Who magazine, who knows? Yeah, such huge shoes to fill, but I just think he's electric from the second he's on screen. Very different energy, very zany, a bit all over the place. Some of that's just coming from the fact that he's just regenerated and he's a bit bonkers and stuff. But yeah, I just think that the little arc he kind of goes through, kind of adjusting with this new body a bit, and just truly embodying the Doctor at the end when he calls the Attractee back for a bit of a telling off. Yeah, from start to finish, he's great. He works with the child actress really well, and then when he's bouncing off Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill and everyone like that, all the guest actors in this one, Yeah, he just has the energy down, I think, right from the off. And yeah, I think some of that just comes from the fact that he filmed 2 episodes prior to this one, so it's actually quite a good plan, and one they should probably just do going forward. But I suppose it's just that's how scheduling just happened to work out. But yeah, it's get used to the Matt Smith praise from my end, I suppose. But because it's his first outing, it's his debut, and he is so strong in it. Yeah, it's a really great performance, and when it just solidifies and grows deeper and deeper as his run goes on and on. But yeah, really commanding force. He's the Doctor straight away for me, and he's great.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really add much more to that. You've pretty much hit every point. But yeah, you can definitely see that his charisma is sort of there straight away from talking about the swimming pool being in the library and all that jazz, and his arguments with the food, and then his sort of relationship with older Amy when he first arrives, and sort of everything on from that. You see the range of him in this as well, with sort of being a little bit sad, being like, oh,
Same.
I guess Amelia's dead then. Oh, whoops.
Oh no.
To then being, pissed off at the aliens, to that being that hero that everyone thinks the Doctor should be. And I think he does a good job of showing everything in his first episode, with the amount of pressure that must have been on it as well. I think is very well done. Obviously, the character changes over the seasons as it goes on. That this Matt Smith Doctor isn't the same Doctor that ends, which obviously is always good. That's kind of what you want to see with your character, with your main character, is some kind of development. And I think this starts him off in a good way. And I think a lot of the performances he gives in this series are probably up there with some of his best for the whole run. Thinking ahead to the Pandora Open specifically, I think that's also a highlight. But yeah, he's very good. And I'm, you think about all the rumors that surround Doctor castings and all that kind of stuff, and it's a case of once they're in the role and they're playing it, you can't imagine anyone else being that version of the Doctor. And I think Matt Smith really sort of made everyone forget about previous Doctors with his performance, which is kind of what you want. And then eventually you circle back round to think other things in the future. But it very much feels like he's always been the Doctor, and that's a good sign. So what is your second positive?
My second is the scene where he calls the Attracts back. And
that's my second.
Hey! And he's just like, bitch, I'm the Doctor. Like, F off, all you haters. I'm not here to play with you. All of that montage I think is so great. He delivers the lines well. Basically run. Iconic, instant icon straight away. All of that. The fact that he's just saying this to a giant eyeball is hilarious, but makes it work. And he does it to an army of spaceships later on, and a sun god a couple of seasons later. All of that stuff. But yeah, he truly becomes the Doctor in that moment. I think it's such a great whole set piece. The fact that he has won the day, but he's like, no, I'm not done yet, because these folks need to
come back
to
at any
lesson.
Yeah.
So he's like truly making sure, and I love that, and how they do the montage of is this planet protected, and seeing all the threats that have faced the Earth over the years, and then seeing all the Doctors, well, nearly all the Doctors, as we find out. And then he just walks through David Tennant. Such a cool imagery there with that. And yeah, it's an instant iconic moment, I think, for his Doctor. And it's a great kind of way of sending the Atraxi on their way, a great way of properly rounding off, tying up some of the loose ends with that. And yeah, a really cool, powerful stand-up moment, I think. One of, if not the best scene in the episode for me. It's still kind of, you see it talked about a lot, and there's still clips of it going around all over the place. It's kind of like, David Tennant's bit in Voyage of the Damned, when he's like, I'm the Doctor, I'm 700 years old, or whatever it is. That whole speech is kind of a big moment where he says all of that stuff. So yeah, it's such a great moment, super powerful, and I love it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think if it gets to that moment and you watch it and you're like, oh, I still don't like this guy as the Doctor, then you're lost. You're like, there's no.
Well, then
you're lost. Yeah, literally, there's no point in trying to convince you otherwise at that point, because that's sort of the moment where it's like, this is going to be who I am. This is my outfit. It's going to be it now for the next 3 years ish. So get on board or get off. And I think it does a very good job of getting most people on board. In even the whole build up where he's picking out his wardrobe and sort of appears on the roof and all that kind of stuff. I think it's great. It just works really well. It teases the little things, his costume in that bit where he picks the different things up and he's trying it all on. And I just think it crescendos really nicely with the music, with the montage, with sort of the outfit. I think it all works really well, and it is definitely one of the best scenes, probably the best scene of the episode, maybe one of the best scenes of the series, at least series 5. It's probably definitely up there. Yeah, but maybe that's something that is episode 1 and one of the best one of the best scenes of the series. But we'll, I might change my mind.
Here we go, folks. Take your shot.
Oh, nah. Well, you never know. I can't remember much of series 5, so who knows? But I know that there's obviously the bit with where he shoots the ball at the end of the Angel first part 1, which I think is also similar to this one. And yeah, I think one thing that is very good from Matt Smith's one is his speeches and his sort of dramatic delivery, which I think is excellent, and this showcases it very well. So what is your third positive? Are we going to make it a hat trick?
I'll probably not, because this one's a bit more vague. I've just put as an introduction to a new era. I think it's incredibly strong in how it's kind of approached all the new things: new Doctor, new companion, new TARDIS, new Sonic, a new villain to deal with as well, new title sequence, a whole new era, a new crew, all of that jazz. It's all new. And I think it's just a fresh take on it, and they needed to do something different, obviously. And I think they really succeed in that. And as an introduction to all these new elements of the show, and as a reboot of the show for the first time since it came back, which is probably an incredibly scary and daunting thing for them to have to do, especially because we're now heading into the era where it was super, super important who directors are and who showrunners are. And I think this era is when that critique really starts happening, because we were 9 years old when we were watching Russell T Davies and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think this is when all that criticism and critiques really kicked off for people our age and stuff, which is probably quite a daunting thing. So to get off to this strong start and introduce all these elements in, I think, such a really nice way, and make it seem fresh, but also be this is the same Doctor, this is the same show, we're still doing the same stuff with it, but here's a slightly different take on it. Enjoy it or don't. Enjoy it or moan about it online and still watch anyway. And yeah, I just think as a new start, a reboot for the show, and I don't think there's ever been a bad here's Doctor Who now, even with Rose, the first episode of that, and this one, When We Fell to Earth, all of that jazz. They always do it well, but I think this is the first time most people probably watching Doctor Who nowadays would have gone through a new era like this. So as an introduction, I think this episode is, quite the achievement.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it is. It looks great. It's well performed, well acted. I don't think there's a sort of poor performance in it. I've not got any performances in my negatives that are oh, that was bad, which is great, especially when child actors are involved, because sometimes that could be a big risk.
True.
So it's a very big risk to start off your first episode with a child actor. But fair enough, they did it and they pulled it off. So it works, and yeah, I think they really knocked it out of the park, and they do really set the stage for what's coming forwards. However, one thing that isn't new is the composer, and my third positive is the music.
Nice.
I think when I look back on it, I think Murray Gold's music for Matt Smith is probably some of the most memorable Doctor Who music I can think of. There are some good ones in Chris Ferguson and David Tennant's runs, but a lot of the music in Matt Smith's run is just excellent throughout. And the Madman in the Box one theme, 11's theme that's in this episode, I think is excellent, and it really adds this sort of sense of scale and adventure to it, and it's sort of grand and exciting at the same time. And I think all of the music throughout this is great. There are times, there can be times when it's maybe a bit too loud and it overplays some bits, but normally it's only loud when scenes doesn't have any dialogue, like Amelia getting ready to go and wait for the TARDIS. There's a lot of loud music in that, but because nothing else is really happening. And yeah, I think the music in this episode is excellent all the way through, and it sort of peaks with the montage scene, and then when Amy steps into the TARDIS for the first time, and it sort of builds up when they're like, let's go, and you go. And I think it's it's very well done, and I always want to praise the music where we can, because I think sometimes music and TV shows especially is quite underrated in terms of, other than the theme tune. Other than like the theme tune, which is like iconic for the show, obviously people don't tend to think of most theme music in this. Obviously, once people hear it, they're like, oh yeah, that's good, but then it just sort of flies away. It just triggers memories. But other than that, I think it's important to notice when it's used very well, and it is used very well. For the one thing that carries over from the past one, it does a good job of feeling brand new as well. Like, you could be forgiven for thinking it's a different composer.
Yeah, he obviously got a new brief for this series.
Yes. Yeah, as new Doctor, just do it new. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we want fairy tale. Go.
Yeah, basically. Have you got any other positives you want to hit on?
Do I? Not really. I actually found myself enjoying, even though there's next to nothing for them to do. I actually enjoyed some of the side characters in this one. I found the old lady quite funny. And it's just funny seeing Mate from the Umbrella Academy in this as well. Oh yeah, you're in this one. Jeff. So yeah, I enjoyed the vibes of this episode. Shockingly.
That's fair enough. I think Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill do great in this as well. I think, again, for establishing their characters and their dynamic between the two of them, it very much risks being a Rose Mickey scenario.
We'll get onto that.
Yes, which it definitely evolves into that a few episodes on, but I'm glad where it ends up. Looking into the future, I'm glad how it all ends up fine. So I kind of forgive it, knowing what is going to happen.
Yeah, at the time, I'd have been like, "Oh, this again."
Yes, yeah, it is a little bit like that.
Since we know where it ends up.
Yeah, and it's played off. You don't see Mickey and you don't see Amy and Rory as a couple in this episode, sort of as you see Rose and Mickey. It's not like established they're a close couple.
No.
So I think it can be forgiven a little bit that it's a bit, it's a very flimsy relationship at times. And then sort of, I think, as you mentioned, the tease of what's to come, the silence and all that kind of jazz, the crack in the wall, I think it's good storytelling to set it up now, and knowing that most of it gets resolved. I like seeing that the little trails are sort of fed throughout, which is obviously something that we've had a while without, with the whole specials and not really having a thread. It's been a while since we've had this overarching story. So I'm excited to see how that pans out. Hopefully nobody gets evaporated from time.
Oh god, that'd be awful, wouldn't it?
That would be terrible. Oh boy. But anyway, negatives. Unfortunately, we have to talk about them because it's only fair. So what is your first one?
To an extent, Amy. Some of her characterization, we talked about, it's Rose and Mickey 2.0 for the most part, particularly series 5 is really. I really like Amy in series 6 and 7. I do struggle at times with her in series 5. She has some great moments. I know she's great in the next one, in particular. But whenever it circles back to, she fancies the Doctor, let's snog him the night before my wedding, and then the Doctor jumps out of a cake. She's obviously quite young in this one anyway, and she's yet to properly, I think, fall for Rory in the way that he clearly is enamored with her. And we don't really see the 2-year gap in between the end of the Atraxi business to when he picks her up. Then obviously they have gotten engaged at that point. But yeah, it does feel like a bit of a retread to that extent. I'm just like, I already don't like the way that you're treating him. And when she's like, I'm not going to turn away from the Doctor getting changed, I'm like, oh god, you're awful. And that it properly peaks really in Flesh and Stone, which I do think is Amy's worst moment. And after that, I actually quite enjoy her, and because then they actually build up Amy and Rory's relationship over the next couple of years, and then it's absolutely fine. Because she always ends up choosing Rory in the end, and Amy's choice is obviously the big point of that. So they go somewhere with this, because they have a whole episode about her choosing between them.
I forgot that was in this series as well. God, got so many gems coming up.
That's the halfway point. So yeah, we have that to look forward to. Old people and their giant eyes.
Another giant eye. God.
Yeah. Oh my God. What does it mean? Must mean the Rani's returning for some reason. But yeah, this is a few moments like that. It's again, I know where it goes, so I can deal with it now. But I remember at the time, I'm like, and especially when I watched Flesh and Stone when that aired, I was like, oh God, Amy, what are you doing, man? It's just one of those things. But Rose never bounces back from that kind of attitude. At least Amy does. So I can be like, okay, good, because it does work out in the end. But I think as like a setup for a character to make her the way she is, I'm like, it's probably not going to enamor everyone to your new companion right from the off here. So it's a strange choice. But the fact that it is a clear arc for her that they continue to explore with this series and then beyond, I can see where they're going with it, and they do go somewhere with it. But at this point, it's just like something I need to kind of cringe my way through until we get to the bits where I completely love her, which isn't quite yet. But there are some great moments for her in this one anyway. I do like her, but some of her characterization, just like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think sort of that can lead into two of my negatives actually. So the first one of mine, which I'll touch on, is this episode is a bit too horny at times. I think we had this criticism for one of Russell's episodes. I can't remember which one it was, but we've had it before on this, and it's very borderline sometimes, I think, in this week. Whether that's insinuations about what Jeff is looking at on his laptop, to Amy being a kissogram, which
that was a choice, wasn't it?
I don't think are things. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm. Maybe it's.
I think they had to invent the name kissogram for what Amy.
Yes, I have a feeling that it should have been stripper or something like that, but they were like, can't have that in a 7 p.m. time slot. Sorry, change it to kissogram. Yeah. And then that's heightened by the fact that when she sees the old lady, it's like, oh, you were a nun, and you were, it's like, oh.
Yeah, and our first look at adult Amy Pond is a camera of her legs going up to her miniskirt. Like, oh, no.
Yes. So there's that, and then as you mentioned, where she doesn't want to look away from the doctor getting changed. I'm like, oh, come on.
Can we not?
Let's not do this. So that's a big sort of issue of mine, and obviously, I'm not begrudging Amy for being a kissogram. Do whatever you want. I'm begrudging the writer for deciding to make that a character. The character's job.
Yeah, strange choice.
It could be literally anything.
It feels like it's just done to be
to
like,
get her in a miniskirt.
And to do the reveal, like, oh, this is adult Amy, but there's so many other ways you could have done that.
It could just be a Halloween costume. You could have set the story at Halloween.
Yeah.
But never mind. It's just a bit too horny. And I know that dies down for a bit, and it does crop up a little bit, I think, throughout Moffat's run, references to browser histories and all that kind of jazz, which we'll come on to eventually. And maybe they're not as bad as I remember them being. But
that is the thing with this era. It gets memed so much that I think you forget how minimal it is. Like all the Doctor Who's, there's like 4 in the entire run, and everyone's like, oh, it says it every single episode, and they use I'm the Doctor every single episode. They don't. It's been memed so much you forget. But it's one of those. I won't begrudge the memes.
No, the memes often make them. They often make them better. Looking at you, Love and Monsters, which is a significantly better episode since the memes. And then sort of my second negative, which linked back to yours, was sort of the treatment of Rory in this episode. Yeah. Not just from Amy, but from his boss as well. I'm like, he has photographic evidence of them being out and about, and you're like, oh, take a holiday. I'm like, I'm sorry, he's doing his job in like telling you something is wrong. I'm just like, he just gets treated so poorly by work, and then he obviously gets treated pretty poorly by Amy when they're introducing the doctor and that kind of thing. And then obviously he gets left the night before his wedding. Not that he knows, but he's left. And I'm glad that Rory stops being the pushover that he is in this at least basically between now and when he gets taken by the crack. He's just such a pushover. That when he comes back,
I hate being taken by the crack.
But it is. I think he's almost there with the Silurian special, where he's got a little bit more of a backbone, but he's still not quite there. He's still a little bit wobbly. Yeah. But then when he comes back,
he gets the gradual arc that Mickey only gets in the Cyberman 2000.
Yes, and I think it helps obviously because he goes through like 200 or whatever it is years of doing 2,000 years of guarding the box. So that kind of plays into it. But I think he's just treated so terribly in this. I'm like, oh, like, please, you're trying your best. Like,
So wholesome.
why are people bullying him? He doesn't deserve this.
Leave Rory alone.
Literally. But yeah, I'm glad when they go, and I can kind of forgive it because it is part of the arc. We're seeing the characters at the start here. So
yeah, I think they really, they really showcase it so that you can see the change later on.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm glad for that. Which sure, why not? But yeah,
sure.
Both of my first negatives: too horny, treatment of Rory, both link into your Amy and Rory relationship kind of thing at points, unfortunately. But yeah, so what is your second negative then?
Yes. Some of the CG for Prisoner Zero I've gone for.
Oh, that's my last one. Yeah.
CG kind of, the very rubbery doctor hanging out the TARDIS at the start. I'm like, that doesn't look great.
Yeah,
but you can kind of forgive that because it's the first minute of the episode, and it's a very late minute addition to the episode, as it turns out. Fun fact coming up. But yeah, there's some. I think in wanting to make him look very slimy, it almost looks unfinished. It feels like you need another layer of detail on that model. And obviously, it's also 12 years old, granted. But I think some stuff that we've seen before that still holds up better than that does. And simple design, simple villain, of course, because there's so much to introduce in this one. You can't really have too much of a complicated thing going on. And I do like the design of it. I just like when Amy's trying to not like spot it and stuff, I'm like, I don't think that's really there. There's that, and then even when they have like when it's in disguise and they do them and the mouths, I'm like, those aren't real teeth. And obviously they're not real teeth, they're giant ass spikes. But it's so obviously overdone, I think, in its fakeness. So yeah, it's a shame that element doesn't hold up. You can see why they don't really show Prisoner Zero all that often in the episode. Most of his screen time is him kind of being teleported away, so you don't have to pay attention to how he looks like. But yeah, it is what it is. But it's not the best looking villain that we've had on the show, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think it also helps that the Atraxi look good.
Yes, that's also true. Yeah,
Prisoners looks, he looks like a worm rather than like not in a good way. It's just too much of a blue smooth worm.
Yeah, it's like there's just no crispness to how the CG looks on it.
It doesn't look like he's
unpolished.
There's no like physicality to him. It just looks like he's just
I can't picture him being like there.
No. Which is a shame. And often, as we've mentioned before, this isn't new to Doctor Who. There are times where practical effects are better than CGI, and I'll come on to sort of one of my additional negatives later, but you don't want to throw everything at the villain in this first episode because this isn't the focus of the episode.
Yeah, they also need to save budget.
Yes, and the Atraxi look good, and they probably
they do look great, to be fair.
They're probably the best bit of the villain arc of this story, the villain side of this episode. They're the better villain, even though they're not really a villain, but yes, that was also my third negative. Just the CGI for him looked a bit naff. What's your last negative?
Yeah, this is so nitpicky and so unfair because it's not really part of the episode per se. But it's the new like time vortex design in the title sequence. That's so rude of me to say, because it's not really much against the episode, but I was really struggling for stuff I just didn't like. And yeah, I just think it's very bland compared to like the previous time vortex and future time vortexes we get. So it's unfair to compare to future ones, granted, but it's just some clouds, just some grey clouds.
Hey, they're orange at times.
Yeah, I guess eventually when the titles show up, but just give me the Series 7B titles that everyone hates, but I actually really love. That's what I'm waiting for. And then we also have 7A, the Movie Maker, so they somehow take this and make it even worse. But I like it well enough. It's fine. But I just think that's almost your first impression of this new era is that title sequence. I'm like, no. Compared to like the last one, which is really energetic and cool designs and stuff, it just felt a bit basic, which is a shame. But yeah, it's one of the things that you just have to deal with, I guess. And it is 40 seconds of an episode, mainly covered by credits in like the closing titles anyway. But yeah, I needed a third thing, and I'm nitpicky. And oh my god, the ice cream van's here. Sorry, carry
I
on.
was wondering what that was. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's probably why Chibnall was like, I'm not going to put a title sequence in my first episode because
Yeah.
it will distract from people, which is fair enough. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my sort of additional negative on top of those three was sort of the villain, Mr. Prisoner Zero. I get it. He just escaped from prison through the cracks. Sure.
Yeah. He's a prisoner. Yeah.
Yes, about it. He kills the people in comas.
Yeah, when he's in when Olivia Colman Disguise comes out, she's like, I think Dr. Ramsden and the patients are dead. So I guess they just all die off screen.
Maybe they're all dead.
At least the nasty doctor woman does.
Yeah, exactly. That's
off screen, but still.
But yeah, I just think, as we sort of mentioned, it's this episode is all about the introduction of the new Doctor, the new companions, the new sort of era. It's not really about the villain, and I think it maybe episode 2's again might have a little bit of a weak villain plot, but then we've got episode 3 with the Daleks, and it picks up obviously. But I do think that the sort of villain in this one's a bit basic. It's just not really. It doesn't feel like it's a threat. There's no big I'm gonna kill everyone kind of thing. He just sort of escaped, and that's about it.
He just hung around for 12 years doing nothing really.
Well, yeah, exactly. So there's literally
what are you doing?
Yeah, there's no point for him just to stick around if he's escaped.
Yeah.
Especially if the Atraxi are following the Doctor, and therefore they're not going to be back for 12 years. Just leave.
Yeah.
But what can you do? It's fine. I think the Atraxi might have made a better villain if it was just about them. But sure, the Atraxi are basically the Jadoon in this situation.
Yeah.
Where they're not really the villains, but they're not the good guys either. It's like killing a spider by burning the house down is effectively what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But again, it's fine. You don't want to overshadow the Doctor too much in this first episode. You don't want to overshadow the companions too much. The companions have got things to do in relation to the villains.
Yeah.
Whether that's Rory,
it feels like a necessary evil, but an evil nonetheless.
Yeah, and I can forgive it, and it's sort of my only additional negative on this one because I think it just needed to be pointed out that it was the case. Have you got any other additional negatives on top of that?
Do you think this man that's appeared with Amy is the Raggedy Doctor by any chance?
I
think it might be the Raggedy Doctor. I think it might be ones that Amy drew. I think
just
it might
a game.
Be her imaginary. It was just a game they played when they were kids.
It's just a game that they played.
Every single side character has that exact same scene.
Yeah.
It's just the repetitive dialogue again. It's like, it's the Raggedy. I get it. That's how
I get it.
React,
I know.
But we don't. Yeah, we don't need it every single time. Especially like just say it once and then move on. But
then they show all the stuff on. They show all the stuff on her desk and everything at the end as well. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's just that I'm like, I get it. We get it. We don't need this for every single character. Like it's fine. Just have someone just not recognize them. The old lady doesn't need to recognize them. She's old. No offense to it.
I think I get it kind of because it's supposed to showcase that it's a small village, I guess, and that they all know each other pretty well. But where was Amy's other best friend, Mel? Come on,
Mel.
Why wouldn't she reappear?
She's probably in prison.
What's gonna? Yeah, maybe that's it.
She stole the car and got locked up.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
sure,
definitely.
But yeah, I can definitely agree. That just shows that it's not just a Russell problem. It's not just a Chibnall problem. It's something that happens in TV.
It's a TV show problem.
Yeah. I mean, it happens a little bit in Doctor Strange, the new Doctor Strange film as well. So what do you do? And once you spot it, you can never stop spotting
the
it.
shield is down. Welcome. Oh, is it, Wong?
Thanks, Wong. For God's sake.
We've been breached. He even says no shit. I'm like, yes. Why say that?
Oh God.
Whatever. I'm over it.
Yeah. I agree. It's fine. I don't think I've got any other sort of big points in this one. I appreciate the Doctor going "Who the man" and then realizing that was terrible.
That's terrible.
I'm never doing that again.
I like that. Yeah. I did like
how they found Prisoner Zero, where they like set out the virus and it sort of called it to the phone. I thought that was quite nice. But it does make sense. It might take you a little bit to be like, what? But it does make sense if you have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure how I feel about the 11th Doctor fully ready to kidnap a child. But
Come with me, Jack.
What can you do?
My favorite bit was when he was like, "Are you scared of the crack in your wall?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm really scared of it." And he goes, he's like super happy. I'm like, no, sir, please.
Wait. I also appreciate Cricket Bat Mieng, which I thought it's a very funny line delivery. It makes me laugh every time. It's just I don't know if that was in the script. I don't know if that was Matt Smith fluffing his line and they kept it in.
That would be funny.
Who knows? But it was an excellent line, and it's just excellent. I've also got down there, Amy is a perv, because she is. It's pretty rude, Amy, not to look away.
Yeah. I know he's not really bothered by it, and he's like, "Oh, look away if it bothers you," but it doesn't mean you should do it. It's common courtesy.
Yeah. Also, the other thing is when he goes away after saving everyone before he comes back to Amy, it cuts back to Amelia in the garden.
It does.
And it like gives a TARDIS noise.
It does.
She's like, but nothing happens. That I know he does go back to that point to put her to bed, but she's asleep at that point, so it's not in that moment. So I feel that's
but then it cuts to Amy waking up because she dreamed it, but she didn't dream it.
Well, see what?
Because it ties into her last episode.
I know, but it does. For me, that it just seems like a very odd choice, because when we see when he does go back to that moment, she's already asleep. So sure, but maybe when we get to the point, I will be like, oh, no, it makes sense.
Yeah,
but
maybe when it's relevant to me.
Yeah, well, no, I will point it out. I'll add an asterisk there to come back to it if it doesn't pay off. But it does seem like a very weird thing to put. It just seems very out of place.
I wonder why that is.
But it's not as good as out of place as the bit in the Angel 2-parter where he comes back with his jacket on. And I'm like, oh, it's that continuity error. Why is he wearing a jacket? But it's not.
It pays off.
So I do appreciate that. So maybe I'll come back and eat my words. But at the minute, it's just during watching the episode, it felt very strange.
Fair enough.
So before we rank the episodes, have you got some fun facts?
I do, of course. Right, let's have a look. We've got fun facts aplenty this time. I've got pages and pages, so I'll try and fire through them. Okay. There currently exist as many as 4 separate BBC-produced edits of this episode, which is fun.
Christ.
The episode as broadcast, which is available on iPlayer, the 2010 Series 5 Volume 1 DVD, and the 2020 Steelbook release of Series 5.
Watched.
Yeah, the edit seen on the complete 5th Series DVD and Blu-ray set, released in 2010. This edit contains a number of changes, including the removal of the thunder and lightning sound effects from the opening titles, the addition of a fire effect surrounding the TARDIS after the Doctor Who logo appears in the opening titles, which are both unique to this edit of this specific episode, which is strange. And the episode ends with the new Doctor Who logo flying towards the screen before the closing titles, and they cut out the Series 5 trailer at the end. There's an identical edit to the one I just talked about, but they've restored the trailer, and instead they've replaced, like, in the original cut, I think it's like just the small like DW logo that becomes the TARDIS, and then the credits roll. They've cut that out and just done the big logo-y thing. That's in the complete 5th series 1 to 7 box set, the 5th series in that, and also that's the version on HBO Max if you watch it on there. And then finally the edit scene on BBC America, good old America, which heavily edits the episode to fit the 60-minute time slot with commercials. They obviously cut out the Series 5 trailer at the end and significantly trim some scenes down. They even cut out Prisoner Zero's Silence Will Fall declaration at the end of the episode. So that's great. Good for the Americans, completely confused when they flash back to that in Series 6.
Wait a minute, I don't remember that.
So well done, BBC America. Matt Smith revealed at the premiere of this episode that there are 5 things in this story to look out for over the course of his run, the correct in time being one of them. Another is that scene that you don't like with Amy dreaming. This is the first time an actor playing a Doctor didn't film his debut story first, as the 11th Hour was filmed after The Time of Angels and Flesh of Stone, the 4th and 5th episodes of the series. I actually think that served him well in the end. The opening scene of the Doctor like flying around in the TARDIS, trying not to fall out, was actually a pickup not originally included in the final shooting script of the episode. It was written months after principal photography had wrapped. It technically had its own script, subtitled Opening Sequence, and was its whole own production block. And at least 2 drafts were written in. I think they included it because they rebuilt the TARDIS set, which I will talk about again in a bit.
I like that. I like that they just wrote. It's just a script that just says "falling around TARDIS," and that's it.
Oh no! Yeah. The Doctor sighs exactly with relief, dialogue, but then the TARDIS explodes. Yeah, even watching it, I'm like, you didn't need this, but no. I guess I don't know. They wanted to get an extra 5 minutes or something. I don't know. Yeah. This is the only televised story starring a single incarnation of the Doctor to refer to the number of that incarnation in its title. Being the 11th hour, 11th Doctor, but he's actually like the 213th Doctor or something, probably, with all the timeless children. This episode introduces Murray Gold's 3rd Doctor Who theme arrangement, unprecedented by a Doctor Who composer to actually have composed 3 different themes. So there you go. But that's not counting several other closing credit and non-series arrangements, so whatever. This story reveals that at least some sonic screwdrivers are grown or built by the TARDIS, so this is the first kind of indicator of that, which I quite like. Amy Pond is the first modern Earth companion since the series revival to not be from London. Caitlin Blackwood and Karen Gillan are real-life cousins. Obviously, Caitlin plays younger Amelia, and Gillan convinced the series producers to cast Blackwood in the role. Amazingly, they hadn't actually met before Doctor Who, so this has allowed them to meet. So they were super close, clearly.
Yeah.
But there you go. Lots of speculation began concerning Rory's 1990 badge date on his nurse ID and how it conflicted with some of the things seen on screen, because he probably would have been like 3 years old or something when he qualified based on the date in the badge. Speculation included that Rory was the Master in disguise, because of course that's always the thing. Yeah. Stephen Moffat later just confirmed that the badge date was just a mistake on the prop in printing. So everyone looks like an idiot saying, "Oh, he's clearly going to be the Master because they've got the date wrong. He's clearly a Time Lord."
So basically, it's obviously, let's say he's born in 1990. This was 2010, so he would have been 20 in this episode. He could be a trainee nurse.
I think his birth date was wrong or something, or he was issued when he later should have been 3 years old, is when he got his nurse badge, something like that. It's strange.
Right.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
This is the first time the Doctor doesn't use a mirror to find out what he looks like after regeneration, because he just saw it through President Zero's kind of copy of him. One clothing retailer reported that in the months following the airing of this episode, in which the Doctor declared that bow ties are cool, its bow tie sales increased by 94%, which is insane. The power of Doctor Who.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yes. The TARDIS control room from the 9th and 10th Doctor's era was restored and rebuilt for this episode, standing for 18 months after it was used at the request of writer Neil Gaiman. The set was used for the Sarah Jane Adventures episode, The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, yes, which involved the 10th Doctor, and then finally for Gaiman's story, The Doctor's Wife. Production staff had to make up excuses in response to people questioning why the set was still standing. It has since been removed. So there you go. They just kept that up. Worth it, though, for The Doctor's Wife, I say. Some music from the 10th Doctor era appears numerous times in this episode. Some tracks including Midnight, Corridors and Fire Escapes, and The World Waits. I don't know what those individually are. I'm guessing Midnight's from Midnight, but there you go. At the end of The Angels Take Manhattan, the Doctor visits young Amelia the day after she waits all night for him at the suggestion of the note the older Amy left for him. Spoilers. And we'll get there in about 8 months. He tells her...
To be fair, I've not seen that one in so long, so maybe I just can't remember it.
Maybe. He tells her stories of the adventures they will have someday, but that she'll have to wait a long time for him to return. According to Stephen Moffat, it was this meeting she was dreaming about at the end of this episode when the Doctor comes back the night before her wedding, and had been planned from the beginning to tie into Cowan's eventual exit from the show. So there you go.
It's definitely very clear.
Yeah, definitely. This is the first televised Doctor Who story to feature 2 different versions of the TARDIS control room. The next would be the Doctor's Wife. The St. John ambulance badge is visible on the exterior of the TARDIS for the first time since the War Machines, the William Hartnell story. So been a while, but they've restored that. This is the first episode since Fear Her that there have been no on-screen casualties. Hooray! What a nice tie-in to that one. I'm glad we.
What an episode to relate to. God.
Yes. Matt Smith had genuinely walked into the tree in that scene where the Doctor does that, so that maybe explains a lot about his. Yeah. That's fine. Stephen Moffat set the story in a sleepy English village because he felt there was a danger London was going to be overused in the long run. In the DVD commentary, Moffat said this was the most difficult script he had ever written, as he had to introduce a new Doctor, a new companion, convince the audience that this was both a new and an old show, and deliver a fast-paced story. A few years later, this was replaced by The Day of the Doctor being the hardest script he's ever written, which I think is fair.
He never had to introduce a new Doctor and companion on the same episode ever again.
Never again.
Nope, not doing that again.
Nope, never. Can't be me. The hidden room in Amelia's house was based on Stephen Moffat's recurring childhood dream of a non-existent hidden room in his grandmother's house. Moffat was keen to give the monster a giant eyeball and commented that when they were designing the Atraxi, and said that a giant eyeball on a star would be easy for children to draw, as he used to draw Doctor Who monsters as a child himself, which is quite wholesome.
Yes, Slovene are quite hard to draw. So
no, I still can't draw. Stephen Moffat stated in an interview, I can't speak, if David Tennant had not left the series, the 5th season would have been Tennant's final year in the role, and would have started with the TARDIS crashing in Amelia Pond's backyard, a terribly bruised and battered 10th Doctor staggering out the TARDIS, who's found by Amelia, feeds him fish custard, but he's still in a bad way. The 10th Doctor returns to the TARDIS and flies away, returns many years later, perfectly fine, but he has no recollection of those events until the 5th season, which ultimately end with the Doctor finding this out and regenerating. Tennant ultimately decided not to stay on, so Moffat had to change his plans for the series to incorporate a new Doctor. So there you go. What could have been, friends. We need the Doctor Who What If series. What if the 10th Doctor was in series 5?
When Russell comes back, he will for sure commission a spin-off.
Commission that story, yeah. Marvel's boys will not get in touch.
Yeah. Doctor Who's What If. BBC's What If.
Doctor What If.
Yeah, and it will just be what if the 10th Doctor met Amy Pond, and I imagine that'll be yay.
Hooray.
Yay.
Hooray. The destruction of the sonic screwdriver shortly after the Doctor uses it on the green. I was like, I've missed a word there, but on the green is in like just the green area, because they're called greens, of course. Well done, Liam. This was achieved with a spark effect concealed inside the screwdriver, activated by an electrical charge that reached the screwdriver by an electrical wire that ran up Matt Smith's sleeve and connected to a receiver. Special effects head Danny Hargreaves then used a remote control to activate the device. Reports stated that Matt Smith was horrendously injured by this stunt, but this was proven to be untrue. Good old reporters, well done. Stephen Moffat debated setting this story in his native Scotland. He ultimately decided on England, but kept Amy Scottish, in keeping with the notion of her being an unconventional girl.
So quirky.
So quirky. The fish fingers used for the fish fingers and custard scene were actually cakes breaded in coconut.
God, I thought you said like chicken nuggets or something. I was like, no.
No, this is wrong. No, they were cake. He got to eat cake all day. I mean, although I hate coconut, so I wouldn't have enjoyed that at all. The Doctor's point of view recall of the activity on the green was accomplished using a technique called roaming eye, which involved Anthony Dickinson and Dan Lowe of Partisan Lab taking hundreds of individual photographs which were edited together to comprise the sequence. This was very time consuming, which is probably why they never did it again. So there you go. Director Adam Smith was attracted to the brilliant script and working with Matt Smith after seeing him in a stage play. Adam was asked to direct the same, but make it a bit different. The goal was to make it more cinematic and magical to separate itself from the previous era. Amelia's house was designed to appear spooky but ordinary and reminiscent of a castle. Sure, whatever. Definitely comes across. Arthur Darvill, yeah, definitely. Arthur Darvill and Olivia Colman later co-starred together in Broadchurch with former Doctor David Tennant and future Doctors David Bradley and Jodie Whittaker.
Oh.
Stephen Moffat stated in a 2019 interview that he regrets unknowingly wasting Olivia Colman, which I think is fair. Production was hampered by torrential rain, forcing some shots to have to be completely reimagined. I don't know what those shots were. Sorry, they didn't specify. The cameo role of Dr. Ramsden was originally written for a male actor, but they obviously went with a female instead. And rest in peace, but not because she was mean to Rory.
She was terrible.
Yeah. Rather than contacting world experts, the Doctor originally enlisted the help of some students of a computer and math course in the church hall of the village. Jeff himself was still part of the scene, but as a student in the class. The scene would have also shown how the Doctor commandeered the fire truck to break into the hospital.
Yeah, I should have done that. That's better than porn.
There's simply no budget. It had to be porn.
Sure. Everything always comes back. If there's no budget, porn.
Yeah, I mean, they've always said it. When Prisoner Zero was captured, rather than to call the Atraxi back to give them a talking to while also taking his clothes from the hospital, the Doctor originally went straight back to the TARDIS and got his clothes from the wardrobe. So basic bitch stuff. I'm glad they changed that. During the Atraxi montage, when the Doctor asked them who protected the Earth, the original script did call for images of Unit, Sarah Jane and Captain Jack, but these were ultimately unused. I don't know if stock footage was just too expensive or something, who knows. Another cut section had the Doctor look up at the TARDIS console. A segment comes off the console, and the Doctor exclaiming to Amy that he's found the TARDIS's steering wheel, claiming he's been looking for it for 900 years. This is how Amy learns about the Doctor's age.
That would have been great. You should have done that. That would have been excellent.
There's still time. Russell, use that.
You do it. You do it. That
works.
Just
then the TARDIS is absolutely fine for the rest of the show.
Steering wheel.
Yeah, just have a steering wheel. Stephen Moffat wrote a scene that explained what Prisoner Zero's crime was, but was cut for unknown reasons. So, shame. There's simply no time. We needed porn.
Don't worry.
And that's true. When Jeff is a serial killer.
Yeah.
The episode was originally titled. Yeah. The episode was originally titled "The Doctor Returns." According to Stephen Moffat, this lasted until, and I quote, "some smartass pointed out they hadn't actually gone anywhere," which is. And then finally, here we go. This is the first ever televised Doctor Who story in which neither the Doctor, any of the companions, nor the main enemy have been a featured character in a previous story. The closest previous case to this was Spearhead from Space, John Pertwee's debut, which introduced a new Doctor, companion, and antagonist. However, that story also featured the return of a previous companion in the shape of the Brigadier. So there you go.
Oh wow. What a twist. I mean, the TARDIS is in it, so I guess that's the only thing that
the TARDIS in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
That's the only thing that stays the same. Oh, even though it does change, but you know. Oh God. Wow, what a load of fun facts. Boy.
So many.
I bet you won't have that many for Beast Below.
No, I hope not. I mean, it's the first of a new era. I imagine there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's come out in the years since then. I can't imagine there being that much Beast Below. No, I already know one fun fact for Beast Below, which is apparently the actress who plays Liz 10 was awful to work with, but that's fine.
Nice, that makes sense. Well, there's no writer's tale for this series, so
not yet.
I guess it's all just gossip and then what's been confirmed in interviews since, I guess.
Yeah, all the DWN interviews and yeah.
But yes, lovely stuff. So that leaves one thing left. Out of 10, what are you giving this episode?
I'm going to give it a 9, I think.
Same.
Hooray!
Me too. Yeah, it's excellent. It's a good first episode for a Doctor. It's a good introduction to the show. It's a good jumping on point. Everything about it's great. It's fairly simple plot. You know, good. It just all of it just works. All of it works really well. It just works.
Considering what they had to do and what they had to achieve with it, the fact that it's even above average and even then very, very, very good is quite something.
Yeah. But that does bring us up. Well, I should say first, there won't be an episode next week because I'm on holiday. So we're going to
have to drag this out.
Soz.
Look forward. Sorry, all you Beast Below fans out there.
Yeah, sorry. I know it's everyone's favorite episode.
I know it's famously the best episode of Series 5.
But when we do return in 2 weeks, we will be looking at the Beast Below. What is your recollection of this episode?
You know, I don't mind it. It's far from the best. It's easily one of the weaker ones of the series. I have no qualms with that. Even Stephen Moffat doesn't like it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those, you know. It's fine. I do think it gets more hate than it is warranted, but you know, I may watch it and be like, actually, no, that's fair. It might be a 42 situation. But yeah, I know it's not the best. I'm sure there were some good moments. I think Amy has some good moments in there. I think there's some good development for their relationship. You know, the ties to him and the Starwell and stuff. I remember really liking. But yeah, I think is it the Smilers, are they called? I think they're really cool. I love the design of them. But yeah, I think a lot of it is pretty unremarkable. So it is what it is. It's just one of those, you know, it's a first companion, like a companion's first time out in the TARDIS properly. Are those episodes ever any better than average? I don't know. And it certainly does fall into that range, unfortunately. So yeah, not the best one, but I am cautiously looking forward to revisiting it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think that, you know, this is probably the reason why I didn't always watch straight through Series 5, because I was like, I don't really want to watch Beast Below. It's the filler episode for Series 5, but it comes in episode 2. So all the goodwill that's built up with the first episode, they get
Okay.
Daleks next week, and then that's kind of luckily they placed it there. And there's like, and it builds from
They
that.
literally have
But,
Daleks in the end of The Beast Below, don't they? No, don't,
Yeah.
please come back.
Stay. Winston Churchill, you say? Yeah. So I think they're aware that this is the strongest episode. I think it does. Yeah, it makes the relationship between the Doctor and Amy more level pegging, I think, rather than just the Doctor showing her around. Amy sort of stands up for herself and puts her sort of on the same level, and she can handle herself. Which
she proves herself a bit, I think.
Even if I think probably the Doctor's anger at Amy is a little bit unjustified for when she does the vote thing. I think that might be. We'll have to see how I think about it, but I think that was unjustified from what I remember. I just never.
Yeah, that might be an issue. Yeah.
I just never thought. Why are you annoyed at her? I can't see the problem. But yeah, I think
I can't see the problem. So clearly there isn't.
Yeah. What is wrong? This is wrong. I am right. How dare you? Yeah. Yeah, and then I think Matt Smith does have some good lines in this as well, some good standout moments, especially when he gets angry at the choice he has to make between doing whatever. I think I like the sort of the world it creates. It leads on from End of the World and all that jazz, where they're on like they're all traveling out into space and stuff. I think that's good. Not sure how I feel about the smash zoom into the crack in the side of the spaceship at the end. We'll see how that works.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And also the reference to Magpie Electricals, that really good episode from series 2.
Yeah.
Which we'll enjoy.
The TV in the TARDIS is Magpie Electricals. I saw that.
That's true. Yeah. Well, yeah. I like the reference. I like the
Martha's
references,
TV. It clearly means that the wire is coming
with
back.
The big bomb.
The bomb.
But yes, that is coming up in a couple of weeks. We're not expecting any other big Doctor Who news to come out now that we've had the 14th Doctor announcement. So we should be okay to not put anything out next.
If there's any big Doctor Who news, it will be about Jodie's final one.
Yes,
it won't be like New Era stuff.
But I'm sure it can wait. But yes, we will be back in a couple of weeks' time with episode 2 of series 5. But until then, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.